Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Sitting in for Pinky Webb, I'm Ruth Cabal. Today on the program, the palace says President Duterte himself gave the directive not to announce what brand local governments will use in their COVID-19 vaccination drives. Lawmakers are divided over the issue, with some saying the move may erode public trust. Local governments have been instructed to implement the order, but how will this impact the country's vaccine rollout? Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte joins us live. Vaccinees will only be informed of the shots they will be receiving on site. Brands will no longer be announced publicly ahead of time to avoid overcrowding. Authorities are on the defensive after many criticized the non-disclosure policy. Lawmakers said patients have the right to transparency, and the move may erode public trust. Let's go straight to the source of the story, Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte. Good morning, Mayor. Nice to have you with us.
Good morning, Ruth, and good morning to all of our viewers and listeners to our program. Happy to be here.
Mayor, first of all, I just want to ask you about the COVID situation in your city because the health department has been reporting a decrease in the number of cases. Some cities are recording more than a 50% decline. Diyan po sa Quezon City, kamusta?
Dito po sa Quezon City ay totoo yung binabanggit ng DOH. I'm very happy to report that based on data, for example, with regards to average daily number of cases, we now have about 361 as compared to during the peak of the surge, which was at 1,200. No? So quite a big drop. Mm-hmm. Our average daily attack rate is now down to 11 per 100,000 cases, which used to be about 39, if I'm not mistaken, per 100,000 cases. So again, a big drop. Our reproduction number from, my gosh, a high of about 1.50 and maybe even higher than that is now below 1. And our positivity rate is at 14%. That is still high. And I believe that this is where we have to continue to work on. And of course, the solution to this is just to continue to keep testing and testing to bring this number down. And that's what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm. To which do you attribute the decrease? You mentioned testing, Mayor, and also yung vaccination. Is that a big factor now?
Well, I don't think so, considering that the vaccination process has been rather slow. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that contributed much to the decline. I think it's more of people being more vigilant now compared to during the past when they were quite complacent and not following minimum health standards. People started following them again. People started being careful again. In addition to that, I think that it's also the government's intensified campaign to continue to test and to trace. We invested much in our testing capacity. We purchased more PCR test machines to increase the capacity of our laboratories, which can now process about 1,500 tests a day. We also increased the number of testing sites from 6 to about 30 in our city. And of course, thank you to the Department of Labor and Employment and the MMDA and DILG, we now have 2,600 contact tracers. Mm-hmm. We also intensify the use of our app, the QC Pass, which then helps us to determine where positive patients have been within 24 hours and enables us to act very quickly and swiftly to address this. And in addition to that, we also invested much in isolation facilities. So from 1,000, then the barangays added another 1,000 in their capacities, and the city is inaugurating another 1,000 this weekend. So we will have 3,000 beds. No? Mm-hmm. So we really ramped up our capacity here.
But at the same time, kasi nilower yung quarantine to GCQ. Is this concerning? How about other measures like yung sinabi nyo nga po, di ba, additional testing because there are more contact tracers and the labs also. Pero niluwagan po kasi yung quarantine.
Yeah, so that is now, I think, something that we have to deal with, because as soon as the quarantine was I guess, moved to GCQ, even if it's heightened GCQ, I noticed on the very first day, May 15, there were many reports of parties, weddings, get-togethers, gatherings, inuman. So I think that is probably a something we have to address, and hence I called a meeting with my punong barangays, and I told them to be vigilant. I reminded them of the warning of the DILG that any breaches of the protocols, the barangay officials and as well as the local chief executive shall be accountable, and therefore I told them to be extra vigilant about this. And as a result also of this these observations, we have ramped up enforcement as well, no? Because now our enforcers, the police, our task force disciplina, our Department of Public Order and Safety have been ordered to intensify their operations.
That's a good thing, Mayor. Kasi na-monitor ko rin, there were some vloggers who were like issued tickets. May mga iba pa po bang incidents na ganyan? Because of mass gathering, no?
Dumami actually, Ruth, nakakagulat the first day pa lang na nag-GCQ, ang dami ng report sa akin ng violations. At lahat naman yan pinapunta ko sa ating mga law enforcers. So hopefully, pag nakita naman ng taong bayan na seryoso ang lungsod, na ipatupad lahat ng kanyang mga patakaran patungkol sa pag-obserba ng minimum health standards, ay siguro naman sumunod na sila kasi hindi naman siya mura. May mga multa yan at maaari din silang kasuhan.
But another concern siguro is another challenge is we have at least 12 confirmed cases of the highly contagious India variant. Sinasabi nga nila double mutant yan eh. Paano po ba, nag-iba po ba ang approach ng Quezon City?
Well, with regards to that, thankfully, Ruth, wala pa kaming reports dito sa Lungsod Quezon na merong Indian variant, no? But having said that, alam naman natin na that is not far from reality at dapat lagi tayong maging handa. So ang tingin kong pinaka-best approach dyan ay testing ulit at tracing, mabilis na tracing. At dun talaga tayo nagko-concentrate ngayon ng ating resources and efforts, no? At I'd like to say na yung dami na binigay sa amin na contact tracers talagang na-intensify naman at napabilis ang ating pag-identify ng mga close contacts and other possible persons who may have acquired COVID, no? At nakatulong talaga yon. So I guess that's the best way to approach this.
Mayor, let's talk about your vaccination program next, but we'll take a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte. Mayor, let's go to the city's vaccination drive. Where are you now?
Well, I think we're pretty good in the sense that out of, our target, actually, Ruth, no, we have two targets, no, just to be clear. One is a target based on the premise that minors cannot be inoculated. No? So that would be about 80% of our adult population, which is 1.7 million. However, we have a second target, just in case, as in the countries like Bahrain in the US, where minors will be encouraged to be inoculated, then that would mean that 70% of our population would include minors, and then that second number would be 2.2 million. No? So we are actually preparing for that second number, that 2.2 million. And that would require us to inoculate about 24,000 individuals per day. That's a mix of first and second jabs, and that is the capacity that we are preparing to roll out by June 1, no? Which is when the A4s and A5s should be allowed to be inoculated. But at the moment, given the current supply, which is still, I think, still sporadic, we have inoculated about 12% on the first dose. That's 211,831 individuals. For fully vaccinated individuals, that's about 4%, and that's 68,175. And in total, we have already administered 280,000 doses. And I think that's pretty good. And we're preparing to ramp up by June 1.
Pero Mayor, I just want to clarify, no? You're saying, medyo ang dami nung numbers eh. You were saying it should be 24,000 per day na target. You're targeting that. And what is the existing number na vaccinate po per day with your capacity
per day,
now?
Yeah, yung ating per day, at least on a single dose, ano? Kasi Ruth, alam mo naman na naging sporadic talaga yung supply ng vaccine. So actually yung sa second dose, medyo hindi mo siya mag-gauge with a specific number on average kasi pabago-bago yan dahil nung simula talaga iba-iba yung supply ng bakuna. No? Pero sa ngayon, nung nag-stabilize ng konti ngayong buwan ng Mayo, we are able to do about 10,000 a day.
10,000 a day, and then your target is more than double that Kaya po ba?
Yes.
Pag dumating yung supply, yung mismong sa LGU, no, yung in-order nyo, when do you expect that? And can you handle it with vaccination sites and then the staff, the medical personnel?
Yes, so 10,000 a day, that's only first doses. Pag dinagdag mo pa yung second dose, I guess we can do, we have been doing about 14,000 or less, no? Kasi minsan konti lang yung nagsa-second dose based on the schedules, no? Now, bakit 24,000? Because nga we want to target yung 2.2 million which is the number kung papayagan nga yung mga
minors,
kabataan. Kasi yun ang medyo debate ngayon actually dahil yung T3 group, yung private sector, gusto nila bakunahan ang 70% of the entire population. Pero dati, nung nagpaplano pa kami, alam namin na hindi pinapayagan ng minors, so ang ating naging target is 80% of the adult population, no? Which is 1.7 million. Kaya medyo may dalawang bilang tayong ngayong binabantayan. And now, it's better to be prepared for the bigger number. Now, this 24,000 jobs, of course, will be a mix of first and second doses. And at the moment, we've already plotted where this will take place, how this will happen, etc. No? So, more or less, we're confident that we will be able to carry this out because hindi naman siya kailangan agad-agad sa June 1, 24,000 agad. Kasi first and second doses ito. So, maaring konti lang ang magsi-second dose, pero yung first dose mo, kailangan at least 12,000 siya. No, para maabot mo yon. Then at some point, pag nagsabay-sabay na, may second dose tsaka first dose, aabot yan ng 24,000. So ganun yon. Ruth, hindi naman everyday 24,000.
Yes.
Nagbabago siya, pero nag-average siya on that number. No?
But in terms of logistics, Mayor, and also yung kasi yung ibang cities, medyo kulang yung mga nagbabakuna, yung tao mismo, and then they're calling on volunteers, and then help from the private sector. Kaya po ba yan ng Quezon City? And then I've read you actually have a drive-through vaccination site na rin, ano?
Dito, Ruth, kailangan namin maging creative. Alam naman natin na yung population ng aming lungsod ay napakalaki. Una, nagpapasalamat ako. Based on online surveys and also based on on-the-ground experience, we're not at the moment experiencing vaccine hesitancy. Dagsa-dagsa pa rin ang mga taong gusto magpabakuna. No? And based on our online survey, albeit this is not, of course, representative of our entire population, but only those that have access to a computer, 50% are willing to be vaccinated and 30% are undecided. 20% are not willing to be vaccinated. So we're working on this 30% that are undecided. And we saw that the reason they're undecided is really not because of out of principle, but because they are afraid or they lack information. And I think these are issues that can easily be addressed. No? So that's one in terms of vaccine hesitancy. In terms of medical personnel, we are very grateful because there are many volunteers that have signed up to work with us. And we have signed many partnerships as well, no, with several agencies that have been willing to allow us to use their manpower resources. So this is ongoing, no? And it's a matter of logistically plotting to make sure that there are medical health workers every day. No? Kasi iba-iba yung mga tao, they can only volunteer, let's say, several times a week, etc. But if you put them all together and you are able to schedule them properly, systematically, kaya naman yung manpower resources. And in fact, we're depending on that already now. Another strategy that I'm quite proud of is hindi kasi kami nagdedepende lamang sa mega vaccination centers, Ruth, dito eh. Ang aking policy dito, dahil nga ang nakilaki ng lungsod, is to bring the service to the people rather than to bring the people to the service. No? So while we have mega vaccination centers, no, and we have the malls, and all of the malls, by the way, are already vaccination centers here in Quezon City, pero sinischedule rin lang natin sila para hindi naman din sabay-sabay at ma-deplete yung resources natin in terms of manpower and supplies. We also have what we call pop-up vaccination center. So ito yung mga isang araw lang, pero dinadala natin lahat ng mga kabarangay natin na willing magpabakuna dun sa A1 to A3 category sa isang pop-up site. Tapos doon sila binabakuna. Bukas wala na yung pop-up site na yan kasi lilipat na kami. Another strategy that we also implemented was the partnerships with the HOA. And I'm encouraging all local governments to do this. It has been very, very successful. Kapag nakipag-partner po kami sa isang homeowners association, katulad ng mga gated subdivisions namin, like for example, I would say Corinthian Gardens, Green Meadows, Philinvest, Capitol Hills, etc. What you do is we sign a memorandum memorandum of agreement, lahat po ng health workers kanila. No? Kasi syempre halos lahat naman ng ating mga health workers nakatira sa mga, I would say at least medyo middle class to affluent communities. No? And sila na yung bahala sa manpower resources at ang role ng local government dito ay supervision lang at pagbibigay ng bakuna at sisiguraduhin lang nasusundan yung protocols. No? Pero yung venue, lahat kanila na yon. And we've already done this in 60 homeowners associations so far, and all of them have been very, very successful. So I would recommend this as well. So again, meron po kami partnerships with malls. We have partnerships with the church. We also inoculate in our churches. We have mega vaccination centers like in Araneta and in Ayala Techno Hub and Eton Centris. We have partnerships with HOAS. We have drive-thrus as well. No? And we also have a bus. This one goes to the very remote and far-flung parts of our city, yung hindi talaga napupuntahan at walang capability din yung mga taong mag-commute at pumunta sa isang vaccination center or even a pop-up. So kami na po ang pumupunta sa kanila para mabakunahan sila. So it's a matter of being creative and it's a matter of adopting many different strategies to make sure that all of your people are inoculated, because the demographic profile here is just so diverse that you cannot just have one methodology.
Mayor, you also mentioned na you consider na there's really no vaccine hesitancy in the city. No? Sabi niyo over 50% wants to be inoculated. Pero how will this affect yung brand agnostic policy ng government that they don't want the local governments to announce in advance yung brands ng vaccine?
Well, first, I'd like to make a correction there, Ruth. At the moment, I do not see any vaccine hesitancy pa.
Yes.
No? Kasi simula pa lang naman ang rollout. Pero at some point during the rollout, maybe midway, maybe sometime in June, July, I'm anticipating vaccine hesitancy. And that is why our comms are ready, our communications team is ready to ramp up information dissemination, especially in the grassroots, where I feel that the hesitancy will come from. We are also toying with the idea of coming up with incentives already as to how to encourage those people, because now we've identified there is some kind of an income correlation. Yung mga medyo well-off, wala naman silang problema. Pero yung mga mamamayan natin na mas malaki ang mga problema, na wala ng trabaho, na wala ng hanap buhay, walang pinagkakakitaan, nagugutom, sila yung medyo vaccination is the farthest thing from their minds. And that's why we are toying with the idea of incentivizing them. And then we're trying to find the budget for that. So at the moment, that's still not yet final, Ruth, and I'll give you updates on that later on.
What kind of incentives, Mayor? Kasi si Secretary Roque was saying na parang gawing yung vaccination requirement for the 4Ps, di ba? Yung Pantawid Pamilya program.
Well, hindi ko pa naman naiisip yun kasi I think that's a policy that must come from the national government, yung 4Ps, kasi programa nila yan. We started, experimenting, piloting, no, with one sector. This is the TODA. And this is something we did nung Labor Day kasi we wanted to do something para sa mga manggagawa natin on Labor Day. So bagamat hindi pa sila kasama, A4 sila, we decided to do a dry run para sa kanila. Ano? At nakita natin nung simula, wala talaga na gusto magpabakuna dahil gusto nilang mamasada dahil sayang daw yung kita, no, etc. And I understand that kasi ganyan talagang situation natin ngayon, no? But nung sinabi natin, sige, meron tayong ayuda, bakuna plus ayuda, willing po ba kayo magpabakuna? Madami naman ang nag-sign up, no? So nakikita natin na if the incentive is, I guess, something that really addresses the basic human needs like food, I think we will be able to encourage many people to sign up who previously were not willing to, or not that they were not willing to, but probably something that is something very far from their minds. No? They might be willing to prioritize it.
How much was that ayuda, Mayor?
Well, it's 5 kilos of rice and some canned goods and some vegetables.
Okay. No? We'll talk more about that. We'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte. Mayor, I just want to go back to my question about the brand agnostic policy of the Health Department. And the DILG has also issued a directive on this. How do you plan to implement it dyan po sa Quezon City?
Well, alam mo, Ruth, I would like to say that every city is different. No? So I know that kaming mga mayor, iba-iba yung mga opinion namin about this particular issue. And And I think it also has to do with the demographic profiles of our respective citizens or constituents. No? And here in Quezon City, and I can only speak for myself, this has never been a problem for us. This whole issue of branding. It has never been a policy of the city to disclose the brands that are available in every site. No, we operate as much as 35 sites a day, and it's never been our policy to disclose what brand is in that particular site. No? And I will explain further in a bit. No? But our stand has always been, if the FDA has approved a vaccine, then you can be sure that this vaccine is effective, it is safe, and it will protect you from COVID. And that's the message that we are imparting to our people. And so far, we have not, ever since we've been inoculating, we've already been implementing this no disclosure in the site policy, no? And we have not had any problems with that. People have not been opposed to that. No, they're okay with that. And I think it logistically, it is also quite, I would say, impractical to have people choose the brands that they want, because we have two kinds of let's say booking. The one is online booking, where people can go online on site and then choose a date and a venue. And the second and most prominent one is the assisted booking. And that's because the majority still of our population are not used to going online and booking for themselves. No? So they have to be assisted by the barangays. And the barangay draws up a master list, no, of the A2s and A3s that are going to be vaccinated at a particular date. And then we assign a site to them. So can you imagine the logistic nightmare if every single one of those 1,000 people assigned to a particular site on a particular day, if we ask them pa one by one what kind of vaccine they want, or if we stock up on all the types of vaccines on that particular site, kung gaano katagal yung proseso. No? It's for two purposes. Practically speaking, it's just not feasible in a city as large as ours, wherein there is so much pressure for us to vaccinate all our vaccinable population, 80% at least, by or in 6 months, which is the target of the national government. So it's impractical. And second, I believe that we should just follow what the FDA says. All vaccines are the same with regards to efficacy, safety, and level of protection. So let's just trust them on that. And I believe that these vaccines are given to us for free, and therefore we should be just grateful that they are available to us. Because when a person goes to a site and we disclose naman the vaccine that is going to be administered in that particular site, and that person then has a choice to accept or not to accept that vaccine in that particular site. No, but we always say, sa kahihintay mo sa tamang bakuna, o yung bakunang gusto mo, baka naman magka-COVID ka sa kahihintay mo. And also because we are at the mercy of the national government supply. So if the
Okay, Mayor, are you there?
national vaccines that let's say certain people want, magkakaroon ng problema katulad ng nangyari sa ibang mga lungsod na nagkaroon ng crowding at na-compromise ang minimum health standards. No? So ayaw namin mangyari yan. So we have not had that problem here. The people have not been choosy here. And so far, this issue of branding, no branding, it is not for me relevant in Quezon City at the moment.
Pero once, like what you mentioned kanina, once they arrive there and just in case ayaw nila yung brand, they can still choose and, go back another day. Parang ganon, Mayor.
Well, they can wait. Okay?
Yes, they have to wait.
They can refuse to they can refuse to be inoculated with whatever is there, no? And then they can wait, but then they can, and then later on they will sign up again with the barangay. But there's no guarantee also that when they sign up again with the barangay and the barangay says this is the site assigned to you, that vaccine you've been waiting for is the one that will be assigned to that particular site as well.
Yes.
So the only exception I would like to make is this: there are some people with comorbidities na talagang serious ang kanilang sakit at merong nire-recommenda ang kanilang doktor na specific vaccine para sa kanila. And yan talagang we address their need. No? Kung sinabi nila at may sulat sila galing sa kanilang doktor na ito lang talagang nire-recommenda ng doktor, we will of course give them the vaccine that the doctor recommends for them. But otherwise, kung personal lang yan, brand conscious lang sila, we highly encourage them to just adopt whatever vaccine is in the site that they are sent to or that they are going to, because it is better to be safe at the soonest possible time.
Very well said. Thank you very much to Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte. And thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Ruth Cabal. You're watching CNN Philippines.